deal. So the lady that Nate talked to, that he knocked the door, talked to the grandson.
The grandson. We'll call her. We'll call her Ronnie. Is that a girl's name? Ronnie? Yeah, we'll call her Ronnie. So that okay, fine. We'll change it to
Bonnie.
Bonnie. All right, Bonnie. That's better. So not Ronnie, Bonnie. So Bonnie, this is crazy, man. So Corey, I remember like at this time we started kind of trying to get more into the sales training, and like he told me about a guy named John Martinez.
Do we have his training yet?
I don't think we have the training yet, but you started telling me about like sales, and I've done sales with like door to door. This is kind of this is a completely different beast. This is like trying to find. This is consulting. So I one day Corey was telling me like, Nate, we're only going to get better at this business when we start caring about people. When we actually start caring about their situation and
sounds kind of corny, but it
sounds corny, but I was more thinking about the dollar signs. I'm not like a greedy person, but I was like trying to make money, right? But then Corey was like, look, Nate, we got to start caring about their situations. So I looked at him and I was like, remember Bonnie? He's like, yeah, I remember Bonnie from a couple of months ago. I'm like, remember how we, she was pretty upset because we tried to renegotiate with her. I bet she hasn't sold yet, and she probably still. So what Bonnie's situation was, she retired. She was on Social Security. She was getting like $1,000 or $2,000 a month. Her mortgage payment was about that. And she had her like 40-year-old son, not 40-year-old son, and her like 45-year-old daughter mooching off of them, and the grandson. So
not working.
Nobody wanted to work in that house. So I thought about that. I'm like, you know what? I actually care about her situation and her. I care about Bonnie. She's got a crappy situation. She's got all these people mooching off her, and does not make enough money to make rent and or her mortgage payment. She needs our help, right? So Corey,
it sucked because her mortgage payment was so low.
Dude, it was so low,
and none of them were working, and she was the only one collecting.
Yeah, it was. They were just
paying for their food, paying for their rent,
mooching off of her. So Corey, remember what happened? You didn't want to go back over there because she had given you the rap.
She was so mad at me. I was like, I'm not trying to talk to her.
But I said, hey man, why don't you practice? Let's practice what you're preaching. Let's care about this lady. So I got in my car. He got in the passenger seat. We drove over there, and I said, all right, let's go knock on her door and talk to her. He's like, nah, I'm gonna stay in the car. So I go up to the door and I knock on the door.
I said like, hey, talk to her first, see if she wants to talk to us.
Yeah.
Then I'll come in.
So I knock on the door, and with like conviction in my eyes, I say, Bonnie, we talked to you a couple months ago. We were interested in buying the house. We still are, but sorry. We're really sorry we got our numbers wrong, but we still want to buy the house. And she was like, get the bump out of here. Get off of my porch. And I kind of walked away with my tail between my legs, and I was like, dang, this is not working. Like caring about people. But I was like, whatever, I try my best. And right before I get to my car, she pokes her head out that door and she waves me back in. I'm like, dude, she's about to rock me. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but something's about to happen. So I walk back up to the door and she's like, come inside. And I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but all right, we'll see. So she points, I go inside, Corey's still in the car, and she goes inside and she points to 3 boxes, like 3 little boxes, and she says, you see those? And I'm like, yeah, those boxes. She says, when you guys said you were going to buy my house, I started packing up my whole house, and those are the boxes that I have from when you said you'd buy my house. You know how hard it was? And it was like 3 days, dude, and there was 3 boxes, and she's like, that's what you guys made me do. And I just apologized. I said, look, you know what? I must have been really tough to pack those, and I'm sorry, but can we make it up to you? Can we work it out? She's like, yeah, I still want to sell. I get Corey, comes in the house, and we literally met with her maybe 4 or 5 times until we finally agreed on. I remember I came back to her like one time, and I negotiated the deal. I basically said, listen, Bonnie, I know, you're holistic, you're a spiritual person. Like, how much money do you really need from the sale of this house to move on to, Southern Utah and have enough money to live? She's like, I think I'll be alive for 5 more years. So I think I need like $30,000 a year or something like that. So I want blank. So she gave me this price, and she owed this much on her house. I said, look, if we bought it at this price, it was like analytical. I was like, if we buy it at this price, it's still a deal for us, and you still get what you want, Bonnie. And she was like, okay. So we signed the paperwork, and it was like a roller coaster from that point. But
It wasn't like a done deal at that point.
no, because she had to find a place to go move. So we had connected her with an agent in Southern Utah to find her place. She was like,
Getting cold feet
all the time,
like questioning it.
And then we did end up getting John Martinez's training, because then you came over to her and we sat down with her 4-year-old son, Ronald or Ray or whatever, and Judy, and they were all sitting in this house in the living room, and the dog was all yapping, and it was just, newspaper stacked.
Little mouse-looking dog.
Little mouse-looking dog. Paper stacked to the ceiling, hoarder. It was crazy. And Corey, what line did you hit her with to get her to finally make the move? You remember?
I don't remember the exact line, but I'm pretty sure John called it like the magic question.
Yeah, dude, you hit it with her. And
basically, like I was talking about, like everyone's scared to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like
bridging the gap. That was the you were talking about
like
that.
It's hard. It's hard to make the decision to bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to go.
Yep.
And if you don't do it now, like you'll never.
And I remember
somehow I said it more eloquently than that.
And she just like a light, and then
you could tell she
Ronald
felt
or
it.
Ray, like her son, the 4-year-old son that was just chilling playing video games all the time. He looked at his mom. He's like, "Mom, he asked you a question. Are you gonna bridge the gap?" And it was just, dude, he had our back at that time. We're like, "Let's go, Ray." Anyway, so she's like, "Okay, fine." And then after that, it just things changed, and then she found a house, and it was at the end of the year. And this is where we're going to wrap it up. But this is where the story gets really crazy. So we buy the house, we sell it to an investor, and she was a hoarder, right? So we told her a part of like how we were going to get her moved. Like part of the deal was, we'll move you.
We also told her like she had time.
Yeah,
it wasn't a big, like to us in our mind, it's like, it ain't a big deal. Like we hadn't been pressured to get someone out of the house
like
to this point yet.
Yeah, and
the buyer that we sold the deal to, he was breathing down my neck.
He was like, "You better get her
like
out."
Showing up, like calling me.
And then it was like, "You need to get her out now."
Like,
we're like,
so I was like, "Bro, chill out."
Yeah, it was crazy. But so what ended up happening was we told her we would move her personally, because I've moved people in the past. I was like, I can do this, and we had Corey. We had a couple of our guys.
I really didn't want to do this.
Yeah,
but they wanted to save some money.
I wanted to get the deal done.
They didn't want to pay yet.
Not yet. So what ended up happening was we told her we'd move her. After we closed, she's like, "Yo, I thought you said I could have some time." We're like, "Yeah, I'm really sorry, but the buyer we're working with, he wants you guys out, but don't worry, we're going to move you. Don't worry. Look, we'll take care of the move." So we show up in our moving clothes, like 8 a.m. Saturday morning. No, it might have been a Friday morning. And we knock on the door, and they all come out. They just woke up. It was like they weren't even ready for it. We're like, "We're ready to get you out of here."
They just partied the night before and were thinking about moving the next day.
None of the boxes were packed. We just.
I don't even think they had boxes.
I think we went and bought boxes.
Went and bought a bunch of boxes.
But dude, have in mind, this is like a 1,200 square foot house stacked with garbage. Like it's
the house wasn't as bad as it had plenty of stuff.
It was pretty bad, dude.
But it wasn't like the garage.
So what ended up happening is we had the boxes, started throwing stuff in there, and no one really wanted to touch anything because it was kind of like...
It's kind of like, do I pack this for them?
It was kind of gross in there too. No one was trying to like touch anything.
Trying to touch their clothes.
Yes. But anyway, we started putting stuff in there, and like 5 or 6 hours go by, and the 26-foot truck that we got was barely even...
We'd done like probably 5 feet.
Dude, and it was like, we're not movers, and this sucked. Like they were just standing around, like her 40-year-old son was just like chilling. He might have been eating some food. Like they weren't really helping other than like watching us try to move their stuff. And we went out to eat.
I think we had been there for like 3-ish hours.
It was horrible.
Around lunchtime, we're like, this is not good.
So we ended up taking our guys out to lunch that were helping us, and they didn't really do shiz either. And we were like, "Bro, we cannot do this. This is just
take literally weeks.
This is going to take weeks of our time." And the buyer is breathing down our neck. So I ended up going on Facebook Marketplace, and I ended up finding like this moving company called like Inmates moving company. It was like Prison Yard Movers or something like that. It wasn't really called that, but it felt like that. So I call these guys and they're like, yeah, we'll be there. So we're at the house moving, and all these sudden these dudes pull up in like these vans, and these guys look like, I don't know what, like prisoners. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how to describe them, but they just busted out. They had like shaved heads, like tattoos everywhere. And they're like, yeah, is this the house? And I'm like, yeah. These guys just literally went inside and started like throwing stuff into the truck.
Boxes,
they were like
throwing stuff in the truck.
They Tetrising it. They had one dude in there who was just like just busting through stuff. And it was like a glorious sight. Like the light of heaven shone down on these guys. These guys saved our lives. Like they had packed this. What we had done in 3 hours, they were able to do in like 10, 15 minutes. These guys are amazing. You didn't even want to get in there. They had one guy that had like a limp. He was like limping around, but he was carrying like 400-pound boxes like with a limp. And I was like, how is that guy lifting that by himself? These guys were strong. They were strong. So anyway, these guys packed up the whole truck in a day. And then there was her garage that, 2-car garage separate, like from the house, that needed to get packed.
Before that, after they finished packing that, you drove that down.
Yeah, we had to get another 26-foot truck because it took two 26-foot huge U-Haul trucks.
Yeah, I think they went and got that the next day.
They went and got that next
night,
day.
you drove the truck down. You had them pick up another.
Right.
Still drove that down that night. And I was leaving for Christmas break the next day. Luckily, I was gone no matter what happened. So Nate drives the truck down to Price. And then I drive down and pick him up.
Yeah.
And we drive back that night. And then they went the next day.
Movers took
loaded
care of
up all of the second truck with the stuff from the garage, which is pretty much all trash.
Oh, man.
Literally all trash.
It was like animal skins.
I know there were rats in there. Like, oh, God.
Dog turds, because the dog used to live in there. Oh, bad, dude. It's horrible.
I was not touching it.
But anyway, so they saved our lives. So what you're going to learn from our experience right there is never move someone personally, especially a hoarder.
Always pay for it.
Always pay for it.
It's worth paying for it. Like, spend like $1,000.
Yeah, it was totally worth it to pay someone instead of our time. I mean, what we lost out on deals, who knows? Like we could have
got a deal that day.
Yeah. So anyway, they got moved out. That got done, and then I remember to wrap this one up is it cost us a little bit more. We thought it was going to cost like $500, but it cost us like $1,000 or $1,500. So she had left like a little Indian lamp at the house. So I was like, hey, I got your Indian lamp. Can we meet? And, maybe like it ended up costing us a little bit more. I tried to use the Indian lamp to be like, hey, let's meet. Cause it cost us more to like, can you give us some money? And she was like, okay, fine. So we met, gave her the Indian lamp. She cut me a check for like $300 to help with the move. And I took them out. They were kind of like upset that we had moved them that quick.
Hold on, before you finish that night before we drove the truck down there, she was upset.
Yeah, she didn't like being moved.
Actually, that might
quick.
have even been the night before we moved. That was. I think it was the night before we moved them, where we went to her house to like say, hey, like we need to come move you to move.
Right.
The buyers bringing her. She was like
so mad,
so upset. We're like, you know what? I know this is hard. We'll buy you a pizza. We'll get you some dinner.
Yeah.
We'll get you some pizzas. We go buy them Little Caesars pizza, some crazy crust, crazy bread, some 2 liters of soda, and bring it back, and it just calmed her down.
Oh, she was loving that cheesy bread.
Yeah,
dude.
she was stoked on it.
Well, let me tell you something. Reciprocity, like give, help people. And I know that like we didn't navigate that one perfectly, right? Because we didn't know the buyer, but try to give, right? Like we tried to move them. Of course, they're upset. We moved them quicker, but honestly,
I think she just had like attachment issues. I was like, she's sad to see it go.
Let me tell you something, dude. If it wasn't for us moving her out of there, she would have never left. Still be there. She probably would have just lost the house. She needed someone like us to get her out of there, really, because she wouldn't be able to get it done.
Now she's down in Price, Utah, probably happy as can be.
Loving life, dude. Just running with the horses, running wild with her son. He's probably gaming, having a great time. 45 years old, just not even caring in the world. But anyway,
I think they bought the house cash, right?
yeah, they bought the house cash, and she had, enough cash, and on top of her Social Security, she's going to be chilling. She's good. So I don't know if I said this, but I ended up buying a McDonald's when I went down there, and they were loving it, dude. So I hope they're good.
Hotcakes and sausage.
Yeah, McGriddle, bro. So, man, it was a crazy first half of the year. I know we've probably taken a lot of time to talk.
Yeah, it ended right before